Hello friends and followers, this is a special episode on the Nimitz UAP, also known as the Tic-Tac UFO. 18th of February 2018. The released UFO video with eyewitness account.
When there was two of us, two airplanes, four people. We had F-18Fs. We had got vectored out to the west after they terminated a training exercise to investigate an object. When we arrived, the cruiser with the Aegis system told us it was merge plot, which means they couldn't break us out from the blip. We started looking around, and as we both looked out the right side of our airplane, we saw a disturbance in the water, i.e. like a seamount where the waves are breaking over the top, so white water, and a white object, oblong, pointing north, moving erratically left, right, north, south, up, down, all around. As we started a clockwise flow around the disturbance, watching it, I decided that I would go lower and the other jet stayed high to observe both of us. As I got to about the 12 o'clock position, the object started to mirror us, so now we're both in a clockwise flow, opposite circles. The object is lower than me, I'm above him, and I'm looking at him with my eyes. Ascending, so now there's probably about maybe a 2,000 to 3,000 foot difference between us in vertical. And I'm at about the 8 o'clock position, and the Tic-Tac is at about 2. I cut across the circle, so across the middle, and as I got close to it, probably within a mile to a half mile, it rapidly accelerated to the south and disappeared in less than 2 seconds. Well, the first thing is it had no wings, so you think, okay, it's a helicopter. Well, there's no rotor wash in the water, there's no rotors, and when helicopters move side to side, they kind of slow and then they pick up speed going the other way. This was extremely abrupt, like a ping pong ball bouncing off a wall. It would hit and go the other way and change directions at will. And then the ability to hover over the water and then start a vertical climb from basically zero up towards about 12,000 feet and then accelerate in less than 2 seconds and disappear is something I had never seen in my life. It's easy to doubt what we can't explain, but when you actually see things, and this is not the first account of someone seeing a UFO, but in this situation, you're talking about 4 people, all eyeballs on, ranging in experience from relatively new in a fleet squadron, which is VFA 41, to myself, who had over 16 years of flying and well over 3,500 hours nonstop. So I would argue that it wasn't a weather balloon, it wasn't a flare, it was an actual object that we looked at for somewhere around 5 minutes before it rapidly accelerated. Well, you can't really discern what it is until there's a couple of shots. When it gets close, there's a couple of objects coming out of the bottom. But you can estimate on how fast it leaves the side of that screen and the width, and you know, you'd have to ask exactly based on the field of view what they would estimate that is. But when it leaves the screen on the video, it's moving pretty fast.
So let's look at the witness statement, the pilot, versus the video that we just saw. First problem I noticed is that it seems to have interlace artifacts. Is this just a poor editing job done by the experts? Secondly, he states 2 small objects were released and it moved ping pong side to side, but clearly not shown in that video clip. So does that mean either the video end was cut and start of it was cut due to classified portion, or this video is a second source, other jet maybe? Or could it be that the FLIR, the flawed looking infrared, is tracking the object with military specialized software, so it looks like it's not moving side to side and we're not seeing it in the video, if you know what I mean. So it's precisely moving it with the radar on the object, so it looks like it's stationary all the time, when in fact it's actually moving side to side. The tracking software is probably top secret and not public domain, so we won't know the full specs of how it operates. The other thing he stated was it was tracked for 5 minutes, and that means there should be a lot more video, and we only got just over a minute segment here and of the 5 minutes, so clearly there's lots missing still that's still classified. What key information makes this UFO like? One, it's 40 feet long, oblong, tic-tac lolly shaped, as he said. It came out of the sea, which is known as an unidentified submerged object, caused bubbling on the sea surface and hovered before accelerating upwards. Now 2 jets were dispatched, with each plane having 2 people, 1 pilot and 1 weapons systems officer in the back seat. All 4 saw the same object, but only retired David Fravor has made a statement. Let's hope one of the other 3 back up his statement. Why haven't they already is a good question. Perhaps they are still employed and under secrecy controls still. Now, as you see, there's already a Wikipedia up on it that summarizes it all, which is pretty good. It looks pretty accurate. But you can get the full report from the To the Stars website, and I list a portion of the report they posted there, the official report in the Navy records, which gives even more details of distances, speed, and what they saw. I won't bother reading it all out because it would be tedious, but you can pause it and read it if you want, and visit the main website and do it in your own leisure time. I see it states there that some thought it was quite funny back on the ship, and when he got back there and made fun of it all and played UFO videos. It says they were getting strange radar hits for a couple of weeks, and that the ship Princeton sent out the 2 fighter pilots from another ship called the Nimitz to investigate the radar track. It also says 2 teams of jets were sent, and the first team saw nothing and came back, and they sent out the other jets with the advanced FLIR to investigate further, which was the team that David was in. Now let's go back to the video. Apparently the video was leaked onto a German film production website in 2007. What's interesting about 2007 is when the Secret Investigation Group in Pentagon was set up in 2007. I'll cover more on that later. But what's interesting, the video footage called F4 is actually better than the official one released by To the Stars website. It doesn't have the interlace artifacts. So I did some analysis on that, and I'll show you the video in a minute. And as you can read here, that they investigated to see whether it was created by the film company or who uploaded it there. And they claim, and the experts claim, that it's not CGI and it wasn't created by them, and they have no clue who uploaded it because it was on old server logs, as you can read there if you want to go through the article. So here is the 2007 video called F4, and you can see it looks better quality, doesn't have the black lines of interlace going through it in the motion. And at the end I will do some enhancements and show you the shape and zoomed in enhanced footage. And here are 4 frames at various places, at the end and also in the middle of it, zoomed in, enhanced, and you can see it's better quality than the so-called original that TTS to the stars website provides. And you can see it looks like what the witness, the pilot David Fravor, has said. It does look like it's a Tic-Tac lolly shape, UFO saucer shape, and the 4 images almost match. One has more of a tear shape, but that's probably just a video artifact, as the source video isn't that great, and it makes me wonder why it's recorded in such poor quality. You'd think these fighter jets would also have a HD zoomable camera on that can zoom in probably 150 times, and maybe they have, and they've got decent gun footage, and they haven't released it because it's still top secret, classified. Here's some information about the camera pod they use on the FA-18 jets. It's called a ATFLIR, Advanced Targeting Forward-Looking Infrared. It's a pod that has a combination of sensors, including short-range radar, imaging, terrain mapping, laser guidance missile system, and probably a few other top-secret stuff thrown in, and that makes it unknown how it exactly works, and all the different options. Now, this is the part of the wiki I think was wrong, is the pod they list on the page is incorrect model or manufacturer. The one listed at To The Stars website is manufactured by Raytheon. Now let's have a look at the debunking group. Most of these guys don't believe aliens are visiting Earth, and UFOs are all identifiable, and they first like to point out that the mainstream media were showing the gimbal and the Nimitz Tic-Tac video to the same witness statement and confused the whole issue, and they point out the 2 videos are from 2 different events in different years. Mick West from Debunk points out that there's an error at the end of the video estimating the G-forces and the acceleration, that the targeted system at the end zoomed in to try and track the object, to try and keep it on the center field, and couldn't, and because it's zoomed in it looks like it accelerates faster. However, if you counteract that, and it still seems to zoom off quite fast, faster than what the targeting system can keep up with, or the plane itself. But of course we haven't got the full video footage. We don't know if this is the part where it accelerates even, and whether the tracking system was moving with the object, which would affect their speed calculations anyway. Due to the lack of information, the debunkers are sort of making assumptions here. Seems that I'm wrong according to the Stars website, that the zoom mode is auto-changing by the targeting system. In fact, it's the pilot pushing the button to change the zoom mode. So just make that correction there. So here is their analysis write-up about the display and when things change. So the debunker group are saying it's possibly a plane, like a large jumbo, 40 feet long. Mick West can't understand why one of the frames it shows a star pattern, and the rest of the time it shows a oblong Tic-Tac shape. Now they're saying it's the heat of the engines of the craft, but maybe the star pattern is where it does a burst out of energy and then goes back to normal. So that might suggest it's not a normal plane in that instance, or it's a artifact caused by the targeting system itself, we don't know. The other theory is that it's a cruise missile that gives it the oblong shape, and it might not be the video footage for the witness pilot sighting, which doesn't seem the case because the pilot, David Fravor, is talking about the video in the interview on the TV, and he talks about it accelerating left, which that video does. So could he be confused that's not his video but the other fighter jet's video? Very possible. One person makes a comment that it's a group of experts on the panel at the To the Stars, and Mick says, well, the experts didn't see that the Chilean one turned out to be a plane, and here's some information about that one, which is also a forward-looking infrared. Shows a contrail with a black object at the front, which they said was a UFO leaking some sort of gas, I guess. But they didn't look at long-range radar and had worked out the wrong location that they were looking at, and when they mapped it to the radar map for long distance and craft IDs, it matched up with a particular passenger jet with 4 engines. And the thermal, you can see that it has a sort of a figure 8 shape to it, or Batman shape to it. And they reckon the Tic-Tac UAP is exactly the same, but if you have a look at the shapes, they're not identical at all. And still, it could be the heat of the craft and not the heat of the engine exhaust. And if you have a look at one of the images here, where the cloud is the same color as the exhaust and also the engine, and that tells you that the FLIR may not be looking at heat itself, but the targeted system is altering what it's receiving as data and making it the best image on the screen. They're only assuming that it's the same as what you can buy domestically and what you see on these paranormal ghost hunting shows. I see nowhere on the targeting system image that has a temperature reading or a temperature scale. But if you look at these other paranormal ghost hunting shows, their one always has a scale in Fahrenheit or Celsius down the side, and a color code as well as black and white setting, as well as various different color settings. Well, the aircraft one is just black and white by the looks of it, and either inverted or not inverted, black and white. Now here's an update interview from Louise, and I'll put the link in the description so you can go and watch the full 60-minute interview. But here's a 5-minute clip from it that he's talking about the debunking and the witness sighting, which is worth listening to.
So I think it's important first for your readers or your listeners to understand that the 2 videos that came out were just very small samples of additional data that the program collected. And by the way, certainly after 2012 in some cases, but I can't go much beyond that. But what I can say is that in each case, the videos provide specific, detailed information that would allow an expert, whether you are a radar operator or you're an electro-optical specialist, to look at the videos and determine, is this something that we have seen before? Keeping in mind, our effort was a very comprehensive effort. We didn't just rely on videos. We didn't just rely on radar. We didn't just rely on eyewitness testimony. It was an amalgamation of all that data put together that allowed us to build a profile of what we were seeing. And in some cases, we would receive information that we could figure out fairly quickly what it was. But unfortunately, there were many, many instances that because of the flight performance characteristics and what we were seeing and what we were being told and what we were able to track on radar, defied any such known profile of any aircraft in any world's inventory. So from that perspective, when you have the testimony of pilots, not a pilot, but many pilots, flying together and witnessing an event. And these are individuals who have top secret clearances. They are in charge of multi-million-dollar weapon platforms. Some cases, they are trusted to fly over U.S. cities with live munition. And so when they are telling you they're seeing something, by the way, these are trained observers. We spent millions of dollars in training them to be keen observers. When they tell you this doesn't fit a normal profile, we need to listen. I think there's a stigma about this that nobody wants to talk about. But these folks are trained to fight wars on our behalf. We trust them to fight and win wars, and yet we don't trust them to tell us they're seeing something they can't identify. And on top of that, we have the video, and then you also have the radar returns. I also think it's important to note, I think there's been some discussion by the media that I've purposely leaked these videos. That is not the case. These videos went through an official review process through the Pentagon per the directive, per DoD directive. And then furthermore, an additional step, foreign disclosure team, the senior-most foreign disclosure team, also reviewed these videos and agreed that they were unclassified. The intent for the videos was to establish an unclassified community of interest, or if you will, a virtual environment that would allow everybody to look at this and help us determine what signatures we were seeing. And by the way, did anybody else out there see anything similar that can help us figure out what these things are? And to this day, no one has had the conversation, but no one has been able to figure out what these are. So as much negative press people are putting on these videos, I haven't had anyone come up to me and tell me definitively what it is. And I think that's very frustrating because people will tell you it's, IR glare or IR fuzz, and they have these weird ideas that it's some sort of 747 from far away. The bottom line is they don't know. And I think we need to have the conversation collectively, and we need to not just look at the video. We need to look at the radar returns. We need to talk to the pilots, because when we look at one piece of information, it's very easy for us to make presumptions and assumptions of what we think it might be.
And so it's revealed that Pentagon had a secret study program to analyze these findings from military encounters, and it was a funded program started in 2007. And as it reads here, when he resigned, he said, "Why aren't we spending more money on this and time to investigate it?" As the funding was cut back in 2012 after 5 years of the program. So it lost the additional funds, but it didn't stop the program continuing using regular funds. They claim they had better things to fund than the study of these UAPs encounters, which is kind of strange when you think about it, because you wouldn't want a hostile country that's got better technology than you just simply flying into your airspace and dropping some bombs. It still doesn't answer if there was a secret government group like Majestic 12, that were controlling all the strings and budgets. And maybe the Navy and military decided to do this program to study it, and the MJ12 or the secret government part may have not known about the program and quickly cancelled it before they found out about alien technology. There are suggestions that this is a reboot disclosure, where they claiming they studied it and found out that alien life was visiting Earth, but slowly break it out to the media in bits and see how the public reacts. They don't want a lynch mob going in and destroying the government, saying that you covered it up for all these years. Who knows, perhaps some of the old generation that covered it up are all slowly dying off, and they're going to slowly reboot the disclosure leaks, and eventually they'll let it all out about Roswell. Who knows? So that's the last bit on the leaks. Speaking of USOs, Also, Mark D'Antonio, the chief MUFON analysis, said he got a ride in a US submarine and was sitting next to a radar sonar man when they picked up a unknown object that was travelling at impossible speeds, going faster than torpedoes or other submarines. So he believes it was a real alien craft. So here he talks about they were doing a secret study program on USOs. So there you go, it's all coming out. So I hope you enjoyed the episode, and hit the like button and share it on your socials and help the channel grow. I'll leave it there, and see you again next episode. Goodbye.